Hello everybody, this is Tiddlywhomp, and I'm coming to you from the new director's letter today on August 12th, 2025. So, I got the link for this one, and I am actually really excited. So this is all the content that's coming out. I believe it's tomorrow, the 13th. I will not be able to cover all of it, but I felt like, there's enough people who want to know more about this, so I figured I'd do a little in-depth kind of talk about what's going on here. All right, Takuda-san has given us a little more communication, and as always, I love this team for this. So let's get into it. Hello, hunters. This is Yuya Takuda, the director of Monster Hunter Wilds. Thank you so much for playing Monster Hunter Wilds. You're welcome. And a big thank you as well to all the hunters who have been sharing their game feedback and requests. The entire development team is carefully reviewing your feedback and working hard to implement improvements and adjustments. We apologize for the time some improvements may take, but we are committed to delivering a more enjoyable and satisfying gaming experience, so we greatly appreciate your patience. As previously announced, we plan to release the version 1.021 update on Wednesday, August 13th. This update will include expanded endgame content, balance adjustments for weapons, and other adjustments and improvements. I apologize for slurring my words. I'm excited. I'm very excited. All right, so here's what they showed us before. If you haven't been keeping up, basically, they moved a large chunk of Title Update 3 into this mid-Title Update patch, which is kind of a huge deal. They're moving a new endgame system and difficulty into this patch that's coming out tomorrow. So that's huge. But yeah, let's go over it. Expanded endgame content. Originally planned for implementation of the third title update scheduled for the end of September, we've moved up the implementation of expanded endgame content to the version 1.021 update. We'll be adding a new set of high difficulty quests, and as rewards for completing them, you can obtain talismans with randomly assigned bonuses, including weapon skills. That's actually huge. So, for those of you that don't know or have not really thought about this, weapon skills like handicraft and slicked blade, those are only available on the weapons themselves. So granted, slicked blade was a bad example because it's not an equipable skill, but I'm hopeful that this includes them as well. So we'll see what happens. All right, first things first, obviously this has been staring at me for the last couple of seconds, so I have to address it. 9-star difficulty monsters. All right, so everybody who has been complaining about the game not being hard enough, at this point, just play these. All right, just beat these monsters. So it looks like it's Gormagala, Arkveld, Raydao, Mizutsune, Lagicrus, Seregios, Uthuna, Nuudra, Uthuna, and Jindahad. I don't know exactly how I feel about Jindahad at this point, because Jindahad's not hard, and it's not a particularly dynamic fight, but it is a very cool set piece. So it is neat that it's getting a difficulty boost. And it's nice to see the title update monsters all getting 9-star versions. I'm assuming these are all tempered monsters, and that they all drop whatever materials for the talismans, and that's like their whole purpose of existing, is a harder boss fight. It's also really nice to see Arkveld on this list finally, because Arkveld's been left in the dust. He hasn't been relevant since basically the base game of Wilds. Title Update 1 immediately introduced 8-star Gormagala, or Tempered Gormagala, and that thing just started destroying absolutely everybody. Like, it was a tie-in between Gormagala and Arkveld for a while when the base game came out, but Arkveld just fell off the map completely. But I'm curious. Let's go into it. Starting with version 1.021, Tempered Monsters, 9-star of 9-star monster species, or of 9 monster species, oh my goodness, will begin appearing in locales. Okay, cool. That's neat. Following that, our third title update in late September will see additional 9-star monsters appear in event quests. Okay, so these are going to start appearing just randomly. So these 9, they're going to appear in the wild randomly. Got it. And then there will be event quests that show 9-star. Can we get a 9-star difficulty Chotacabra? Oh, I'd be so excited. Oh, I'd be so excited. Oh, I would love that. Give me the moss swining and dining mission, but just have it be Chotacabra. Just have it be all Chotacabras. All right, for veteran players who have experienced endgame content in previous Monster Hunter titles, we understand that the difficulty of tempered monsters at launch may have felt lacking. Yeah. Therefore, starting in Title Update 2, we've introduced a system for more detailed monster parameter customization, as well as other adjustments to ensure a challenging and rewarding experience. Okay, so I think, really emphasis on think, that they're talking about the 8-star difficulty, which added wound resistance, which is a huge game changer. And I'm not talking about speedrunners. Like, speedrunners have a different metric to measure, but for the average Monster Hunter player, wounds were a little kind of dominating. Basically, you just spammed attacks, got a wound, knocked the monster down, did bonus damage, had especially because like abilities that dealt extra damage, like weakness exploit, dealt insane amount of damage to wounds. And so the more wounds you had, obviously the more damage you dealt, and the monster just kind of succumbed to that. But yeah, in Title Update 2, they added a bunch of 8-star monsters. The tempered wounds existed, but they were super hard to make. Regular wounds were hard to make, and they got a lot more difficult as a result, on top of just getting, you know, HP buffs and damage buffs. So I think that that's what they're talking about, but we'll see what's going on with this as well. All right, we're adding the glowing stone appraisal item as a quest reward for quests with 9-star monsters. Okay, so little complaint. The only thing I would really like is for them to stop doing single item rewards for crafting. The reason I'm saying this, and I know that crafting or hunting monsters for one item may be popular among newer players. The reason I'm saying this is because it really trivializes the entire aspect of Monster Hunter, which is to hunt the monsters to get the things, plural, to craft an item to get stronger. So this is my hope, is that either in the future title updates or maybe in the expansion, whenever the Master Reich expansion drops, that we start seeing more unique items from higher difficulty monsters. I'm sure the reason they aren't doing this is because they don't want to introduce a whole new, like, you know, grind and make the game feel like it's taking forever. But I feel like that would actually create a little more, like, want. Like, an example I've heard a lot of is people who want to get, like, the Rathalos armor, and they hunt the Rathalos armor, but you need rubies for it, and rubies are a really rare drop. So they're hunting the monster, they fight the monster, they still haven't gotten that ruby, and this is a hot take, but I kind of like that feeling where you have a reason to continue to hunt the monster, not just to get the parts you need for, like, the entire armor set with, like, one thing, like the tickets. I'm not a huge fan of the tickets, but, you know, getting unique items which focus your gameplay on getting different things. Maybe there's, like, items that only drop if you know, destroy tempered wounds or something like that. I would really like that, personally. And also glowing stone appraisal items. I think this is okay, because this is a general thing. But, like, for, like, the gamma sets, primarily is what I don't want. This is fine. This is, like, Ardian weapon stuff and, like, the glowing stone appraisal, like rolled items. I'm totally okay with, like, single item drops, because that's fine. But yeah, all right, that's enough of that. Let's get into this. So we see here. Whoa, okay, hold on. Apologies. So we see here, these are the new items. And here is okay, here it is. Secret Charm, level 1, rarity 7. Oh, it has Deco slots? Let's go. And you can see here, look, it has poison resistance, counter strike level 1, and handicraft level 3. These are all abilities that normally you could not put on one piece of equipment, which is huge. I'm curious Okay, it says right there, and it says that you get extra armor slots there. Okay. I wonder if the decoration slots are randomized as well, if they're only armor slots because it's technically armor. But, you know, whatever. Honestly, I should have been this close at the beginning, but we adjust. Upon quest completion, the glowing stone appraisal item, a quest reward for quests with 9-star monsters, will transform into an appraised talisman with randomly assigned skills. Unlike other talismans, which can be crafted and upgraded at the smithy, appraised talismans cannot be upgraded. Okay, so they are all level 1. However, they can be randomly granted not only armor skills, but weapon skills and decoration slots. Both weapon skills and armor skills, decoration slots. Oh, okay, cool. That's actually really neat, because that means that, like, you could have one piece of armor that you could put weapon skills on. That's huge. That is going to shift a lot of builds. So people who run like burst, for example, you could just put if you're lucky and you get like I'm assuming that it's possible to get like you know, lucky with certain things, but let's say you get burst on this and you're like short one handicraft slot and you don't have a lot of you can't trade off a lot of slots on your build. Then you could put the handicraft in the slot that you got for this talisman. That's actually really cool. I like this. It's a little more dynamic and it is a little more RNG heavy, but it'll allow for a lot of interesting builds, I think, to come out of this, especially for, again, the average Monster Hunter player. I'm looking at this with the average Monster Hunter player in mind, not like speedrunners or anything like that. This is neat. This is really cool. They're essentially building a foundation to go into whatever massive changes they do for the Master Rank expansion. If you haven't noticed, the Monster Hunter games have a pattern. They essentially start with a base game, add new monsters, new system mechanics, and all this stuff leads into endgame builds. And so endgame builds are constantly developing throughout the year and a half, roughly, that the base game gets a bunch of updates. And then the expansion pack comes out. Now you have all this content to basically, you know, prepare yourself for the end game, or for the entrance to the Master Rank expansion. And then Master Rank also gets the same thing at the end of that life cycle. The main thing with Monster Hunter is that, like, and I don't think a lot of people know this, at least based off of what I've been seeing in comments, the main thing with Monster Hunter games, and this is going all the way back to like DOS on or technically PSP, it was Freedom. You get to content that you would normally not have access to, and is like, oh, you've reached like the end game of X point, and you're like, awesome. And it used to be low rank had its own end game, high rank had its own end game, and then it used to be called G rank, but now I guess we can call it Master Rank, had its own end game. What they've done is they've combined low rank and high rank into the same game, and then the expansion pack releases later with the Master Rank stuff. So yeah, that's actually kind of neat, that they are building this kind of role system. Again, I wish that like more monsters had more stuff required to like grind out their sets. Gives you more of a reason to go in and hunt them down. But we'll see what happens going forward. Maybe it's just because they thought they were going to be event monsters and then they were just too popular and now they're putting them in permanently. All right, sorry, that was a huge tangent. Additionally, we recognize that endgame content early after the game's release was slightly skewed around Arkfeld. This, combined with the fact that Arkfeld is relatively resistant to elements, resulted in limited opportunities to try out diverse builds. In response, we have adjusted the difficulty, average hunt time, and rewards for each of the 9-star monsters being added in an effort to ensure that all monsters offer balanced rewards fitting with the effort spent hunting them. Huh. I wonder if that's going to mean that you can get more glowstones or more pieces, or they'll have rarer drops. That would actually be really cool. That would be addressing actually that thing I was just talking about, where essentially as you go higher NHR, maybe like a monster that you just didn't like fighting will have, because like let's just say like that Rathless Ruby, or let's say like a gem, wasn't dropping, maybe they'll have like higher rewards for the 9-star monsters. Again, kind of irrelevant at this point for many of us who have been playing, but that's, again, they're building out the foundation. We encourage you to select your hunts based on your own individual skill, equipment, or needs, and enjoy each challenge. Okay, alright. In light of the addition of 9-star monsters, we've lengthened the duration of meal effects so that they're less likely to expire if the hunts go on a little long. We've also raised the upgrade limit for armor of rarity 5 or above, let's go! So that players can squeeze in a little more defense before they go up against these challenging new monsters. Additionally, from HR 100 and higher, Raid Dow and New Uja will now appear in the Wounded Hollow. Yes! Oh my god, Apex monsters appearing in the Wounded Hollow, let's go! And each region's Apex Predator will be more likely to appear even when that region is not experiencing an inclemency. Oh, okay. Wait, I read that? Okay, that was a typo. All right, sweet. I read that correctly. That wasn't my flub. That's neat, though. So we're going to have arena quests for Raid Dow and New Uja. That is exciting. I wonder if they'll do... No. Okay, the Apex or Arc Temporary is still locked behind event quests. All right, well, moving on. Title Update 3. As mentioned previously, Title Update 3 will see the gradual introduction of 9-star monsters and event quests as well. We're also adjusting the strength of support hunters in line with the addition of 9-star monsters. We apologize that the timing of these adjustments are in stages and come after the implementation of the monsters themselves, but we hope you understand that this is a result of expediting the monsters implementation. In order to diversify the lineup of quests, we are working to make it possible for Legaicrus to appear in the Wounded Hollow, as well as other additions such as more hunts targeting packs of monsters. Okay, that's cool. We're also implementing adjustments to improve gameplay conveniences, such as preventing monsters from spontaneously destroying pop-up camps and resetting the cooldown for mantles upon beginning the quest. Alright, so, summarized, they're apologizing it's taking so long to work on the content and that it's staggered as it is. But I actually, again, I really like the communication from this team. They've been phenomenal throughout the entire franchise's development. So I'm always 100% down with them. As far as like the diversifying of lineup or the diversifying of quests, I'm actually really interested in this. That means more monsters will appear in Wounded Hollow. That means that we're going to have more like the ability to just hunt monsters. So like with Legaicrus, if you want an arena quest with Legaicrus, so that way you can farm it a little easier. You can find it in the Wounded Hollow now, so that way you can skip the last underwater stage of the fight, basically. This is really exciting. I'm very excited for this. Like that makes the fights so much more interesting. On top of that, like targeting packs of monsters, this is pretty neat. I honestly think that like the herding mechanic, or not herding mechanic, but the implementation of like these like packs of roaming monsters, mainly it's the Shagama and like Yankutku. I don't think it was really expanded on enough in the main game, and I've been wanting to see more of this kind of like less loner stuff. So like if there's a group of monsters like Congalala or you know what have you, I guess Congalala is a bad example because they have the congas, which are kind of not really a big deal, but you know, I like these packs of monsters. I'd like to see more of them. And also I can't remember what they're called in game, but the whole my gosh the whole idea of like monsters coming or having to hunt multiple monsters, those special quests, usually they're highlighted as like, you know, they have a special name, whatever. Multiple monsters in the quest, they give bonus HR, they give bonus items. So that's really cool. I like that. I like that they're trying to like diversify the quest lineup so that way we can kind of have a more exciting and dynamic experience. Finally, we can also assure you that any new monsters added in Title Update 3 will also feature 9-star difficulty quests. Oh, that's really exciting. I wonder if what are the Arc Tempered? Because the Arc Tempers have only been 8-star, right? I'll have to look that up. But I wonder if they're gonna be updating Arc Temper to have 9-star difficulty. Well, no, because those are event quests, so they wouldn't really change. Who knows? We'll see. We hope you look forward to new content for Title Update 3, and that in the meantime you can enjoy the new additions from version 1.021 to strengthen your equipment and collect appraisal talismans in preparation for the challenging hunts ahead. Yeah, so this is what I meant by like they're setting a groundwork or a foundation. I really like this. I'm very excited. Weapon balance changes. All right, what everyone has been waiting for. As previously announced, we have been planning balance adjustments for 5 weapon types. However, in the end, we have expanded the scope and will be implementing upward adjustments of buffs for 11 weapon types. Effective weapon types: Greatsword, Longsword, Sword and Shield, Dual Blades, Hunting Horn, Lance, Switch Axe, Charge Blade, Insect Glaive, Light Bowgun, and Heavy Bowgun. Okay, so Gun Lance and Bow are only getting bug fixes, but the rest of them are all getting buffs. That's actually pretty massive. So here's the stuff from the last buff pass they did. Bow, Heavy Bowgun, yada yada yada. Alright, okay, so here it is. Okay, neat. Well, my 2 weapons are getting buffed. Hopefully yours are too. But this is very exciting. The main winner and the king of the buffs last patch was definitely the handler and the Hummer. Yes, that. The hammer. But so it's not a surprise to not see it on the buff list, seeing as it's basically become a completely different weapon. But I am excited to see the rest of these, honestly. Insect Glaive getting a buff is kind of weird, seeing as it's like top of the charts for speedrunners and DPS. I think up there with Dual Blades, but we'll see what happens. Overall direction. In previous updates, we aimed for greater diversity in hunting styles and equipment builds, including equipment with elemental properties. We performed balance adjustments, including some downward adjustments to ensure no single strategy was overly effective against monsters introduced later on. However, this resulted in some hunting styles becoming less viable and certain weapon types experiencing lower than intended viability. We apologize for the results that we did not communicate our balancing intentions clearly enough. I love these devs. This update will mitigate the excessive downward adjustments made in Title Update 2 and will focus on enhancing each weapon type's individuality while strengthening their ability to face high difficulty monsters planned in the future. We will be implementing their upward adjustments for 11 weapon types. Okay. Revisiting downward adjustments. For Sword and Shield, Charge Blade, Light Bowgun, and Heavy Bowgun, we will be revisiting... Okay, so looks like they're going to roll back some of these. Sword and Shield. We've been particularly focused on making the weapon easy to handle... Yada yada. If you sorry, if this is your like main weapon, sorry, I don't mean to yada yada, but like I'm curious, so that we can do this. So basically, they wanted to make it easy for beginners to use, making adjustments to its moveset, so a certain level of damage can be dealt with any action. Okay, so they were trying to homogenize the damage so that way you could be more flexible with your movements and your attacks. But it probably had some unintended consequences, shall we say. Among these, damage output of some actions was found to be too high in relation to their ease of use when compared to other weapon types, therefore we made some downward adjustments in Title Update 2. Among those adjustments, we found that the downward adjustment to Guard Slash reduced the usage frequency of Counter Slash, so we're applying a slight power increase to Guard Slash to compensate. Okay, so they're trying to kind of flatten the damage numbers, but they're not trying to like get rid of them entirely. They're just trying to like they're trying to make it more consistent and trying to encourage people to use different abilities. Honestly, I'm hoping they do the same with Longsword. Charge Blade. In Title Update 2, we aim to balance amped elemental discharge so it could offer another reliable source of damage beyond multi-hitting attacks in Axe mode. However, the adjustment resulted in less power than intended and also failed to expand player options. To address this, we revisited these adjustments and made it so that increased damage via enhanced vials is reflected while in Power Axe mode, making it easier to maintain high damage output while keeping Power Axe mode active. Okay, it's interesting. So I guess they're so if I'm reading this correctly, a lot of Power Axe lovers are going to essentially be able to keep your damage going without draining your files immediately. So it's not going to be like old school longsword where you get to red and you blow it on the spirit you blow your spirit gauge on the helm breaker. Okay, I like that. I think this is interesting. Light bowgun and heavy bowgun. Downwards adjustment to elemental and pierce ammo. Oh no. All right, okay, we'll see what happens. Yeah, so they nerfed the elemental and pierce ammo a little bit, so they would stop them from being overpowered against future high difficulty monsters like the recently introduced Arc Tempered Uthuna, to ensure that a variety of weapon types are viable. However, we're reviewing the change and will be slightly increasing the power of elemental ammo for light bow guns. Oh, okay, so this is specifically for light bow guns. Interesting. Huh. We'll also relax the nerfs to the amount of rapid fire and ignition gauge recovery while using pierce ammo. Okay. Okay, so I don't know about that one. I mean, granted, I'm not a bowgun user. Obviously, if you guys are, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what you think. But yeah, we'll also finally we'll increase the amount of gauge recovery for various ammo types and improve the handling and power of special ammo in order to expand viable ammo selections for more situation. All right, cool. Honestly, I've always wanted to see bowguns, like both light and heavy, be like a fill gadget weapon, essentially. Like, your ammo types have always been really cool. I loved it in World. I think was the first big change that bowguns ever received. But like, I loved when like my friends would be running bowgun and all of a sudden they'd just be like, okay, cool, I have like this like heavy explosive ordnance essentially that I can shoot from afar and provide artillery cover for a little bit. And I was like, that is sick. So I'm hoping that bowgun users, you tell me, but I'm hoping that you guys have more variety in your ammo type selection and feel like this is an impactful change. Again, let me know in the comments if you're a charge blade player, sword and shield player, light bowgun, everything. Just let me know in the comments what your thoughts are to this. I think it's interesting. Oh, okay. Other weapons. We'll perform some upward adjustments for weapons like Greatsword and Insect Glaive as well, which previously have not been the subject of balance changes. Well, Insect Glaive, I don't understand. Greatsword's interesting, though. I played Greatsword since, like, the first game. My mains are definitely skewed more towards Longsword, and then Greatsword is my secondary, but I love Greatsword. For dual blades, we've focused on improving usability, such as making Demon Boost mode easier to maintain. Awesome. Making focus strikes easier to use. Interesting. In particular, based on player feedback, we added a focus strike action, which can be chained into others, that provides another option for continuing attacks without changing your position. Oh, is that it? Well, let me watch this. Oh, that's sick. Okay, so so what this means is essentially, so dual blade players, don't worry, you still have your Eren Jaeger attack on Titan, spin down the spinal column of the monster attack. This is an alternate option for DPS. Now, granted, obviously not as much dopamine, but this is really cool because that means that, you know, dual blade players who are wanting to actually cooperate, if you are playing with other players and you don't have a mic or whatever, this lets you focus on only breaking that one wound and maintaining damage on that same spot. Essentially, you're giving up the flash and multi-hitting properties of breaking the wound for getting that one wound and focusing your damage there and not having to reposition behind the monster immediately, or I guess in front of the monster in some cases. This is a really cool quality of life update for dual blades, honestly. I wonder what they're going to do for Greatsword and Insect Glaive. We've implemented upwards adjustments for each weapon type, focusing on expanding playstyle options. We encourage hunters to try each of the weapons out again after the update is live. Deals on the adjustments made for each weapon type will be introduced in guild reports on our official social media accounts, so please check the reports for more information that weren't available to share here. Okay. Yeah, by the way, if you have not checked out the guild reports after a patch goes live, I highly recommend checking them out. But I don't think there's any. I checked the guild reports earlier and there weren't any updates as of recording, so we'll see. Details on the adjustments made for each weapon type will be included, blah, blah, blah. We also plan to adjust some series skills that were previously difficult to use with the overall goal of increasing equipment build diversity, or options. Sorry, I was thinking diversity. That's awesome. This is insane. This may seem like a weird thing to be really hype about, but just to give you an example, Slicked Blade is a weapon skill that I have been wanting to be relevant for such a long time. It's so much fun. When it works, it's so good. But the problem is that you basically have to either be fighting specifically in an area in the oil well basin or in the forest. And if you're not in the forest or in a specific area of the oil well basin, you don't proc it. So I would love if there were more ways to like proc this ability or even just have it separately. But regardless, this is really cool. I think that if they have other abilities like this that are hard to, other abilities that are, I'm just not thinking, I'm kind of blanking on it. But if they have other abilities like this that are hard to proc, I'm very curious what they're going to do. This team has been doing an excellent job with these updates and quality of life improvements, so I'm very excited. I know this is like such a weird thing to get like hyped about, but like, let me use Slick Blade, damn it. Efforts to improve game stability. Okay, so here's the big thing for a lot of PC players. I know this is a huge sticking point, so I'm actually excited to see this. We'd also like to touch on our efforts to improve game stability, particularly for the Steam version in response to numerous player comments. Also, just please stop. If you are sending death threats, don't do that. Stop. We are against sending developers threats of any kind on this channel. Moving on. Bug fixes. We are currently aware of an issue across all platforms where the game may crash when a player gesture, such as the water gun gesture, hits another player at the same time that a specific type of communication error has occurred. What? Okay, cool. We're strengthening our checking system to prevent game crashes caused by issues on the application side. In the event that a bug is found, we'll investigate and fix it. Okay, here we go. CPU usage optimization, Steam version. In Title Update 2, we fixed bugs related to shader compilation and reduced the impact of anti-cheat measures on processing load by about 90%. In addition, as an option to reset CPU load while improving frame rate, we implemented support for the latest super resolution technologies DLSS4 and FSR4. In addition, in Title Update 2, we improved our texture loading process, reducing instances where low-quality textures are displayed when monsters suddenly enter the player's field of view. In Title Update 3, we'll see similar improvements for NPCs and sacred mounts. All right, so what they're talking about here for people, and if I'm going over this too slow for you, I'll try and put little like check marks here, but like I'll talk about this part here, what this means. Title Update 2, they essentially made it so that way when a monster entered your field of view, hopefully you wouldn't see like an origami monster all of a sudden, like origami monster jump scare going into like a regular monster. Granted, I don't think it was that bad, hopefully, but I do know that there was like low texture pop-in a lot of the time, which could lead to a really jarring experience. So they were trying to smooth that out. Future plans. In general, increasing the native frame rate will also increase CPU usage. If the frame rate limit is set to unlimited or high values in the options, CPU performance will be maximized. In the attempt to increase the frame rate, which may result in very high CPU usage, please adjust your graphics options to limit the frame rate in accordance with your hardware specifications. In cases where GPU performance is bottlenecked, CPU performance may not be fully utilized. Okay, so yeah, this is just warning people, please, check your machines like limits and make sure that it can function. I mean, this is nice information to have. I feel like this is generally kind of obvious, but we'll see. I don't play it, full disclosure, I don't play it on PC. So I am not aware of any issues, and a lot of my PC friends have not had this issue or these issues. They've been able to play when the game first dropped. Two of my friends who played it on PC didn't have any issues at all, but everyone else had problems running it. However, since then, most of my friends have had a really smooth experience. Obviously, minus the wonderful Capcom netcode that it's just kind of a staple of the series at this point. But nevertheless, yeah, I love this team for at least continuing to be transparent about this and trying to improve. So, good to see. We are aware that some players may be concerned about the potential strains on their PCs, particularly those using CPUs known to have stability issues, as reported by various manufacturers due to prolonged high CPU usage during extended play sessions. On the other hand, as making changes to CPU processing could affect the game's overall performance, we plan to proceed with caution. In regards to CPU load reduction, we plan to address this issue in the 4th title update scheduled for this winter. Once the initial implementation is complete, we will proceed with the 2nd stage of further mitigation measures. We will also address GPU load reduction in a similar manner. We will continue to work on improving the game's stability so that more players can enjoy the game on PC with peace of mind. Thank you for understanding. I mean, I suppose this is kind of the issue with releasing a game simultaneously on like every console and PC, but at the same time, this is kind of frustrating to see. Not because I am suffering from these issues, but because I know that a lot of PC players are at least enough that, you know, there is a consensus this game is not good because of how many people are suffering on PC. But full transparency is good, and I like the fact that they are like, yeah, we have to stagger this out, but we are going to be making sure this game runs. At this point, I just really hope that the expansion runs a lot smoother. I'm assuming that that this is part of the reason why they're, you know, holding back, but they're just making sure they're like future-proofing content. But we'll see. Looking ahead. Okay. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to all of you who have provided us with valuable feedback and requests. We will continue to share the development team's progress on these throughout. We will continue to share the development team's progress on these through our guild reports. For detailed information on adjustments, including those we were unable to cover in this update, please refer to our official social media accounts and website. Information will be published on our social media accounts first, later posted on our official website as well. For the absolute latest, please check our social media. All right, so if you have Twitter or you have any of the other social media platforms that they're on, like Bluesky, check there first. We'll continue to make various fixes and adjustments through future updates, as well as implement additional exciting new content. We also plan to address improvements that were not included in version 1.021 updates in future title updates. Please look forward to more details. We'll be announcing soon about Title Update 3, scheduled for release at the end of September. For our 4th title update this winter, on top of new monsters, we are also considering additional weapon-related endgame features. Huh. We'll continue to work hard to make Monster Hunter Wilds as enjoyable as possible for hunters throughout the world. Thank you for your continued support. Happy huntings. All right. Full breakdown. Weapon buffs are coming. I'm excited to see what specifically they're changing for the weapons. I'm sure those will be available either soon or tomorrow. And as far as like the 9-star difficulty stuff and the talisman endgame content, that's actually really exciting. It is just, you know, more RNG rolls, but it's, you know, another piece of content that'll help diversify builds, which is actually really cool. As for the rest of this, I guess really what stuck out to me was the PC section. Kind of a bummer. I mean, there are obviously, I'm not gonna say there aren't fixes, but it's a shame to hear that it's gonna just be staggered throughout the title updates. I hope that means that they're just like there are just major major changes coming in title updates, not that they aren't going to be doing more PC work, because it looks like they're going to be doing more work in between title updates as well. So hopefully that'll fix issues, and hopefully they can address major issues in bulk. But we'll see. As for the rest of it, though, I'm hopeful that we're going to be seeing some Title Update 3 teasers relatively soon. And just a little note here. For a 4th title update this winter, on top of new monsters. So the last time they used this, it was with purpose. And what is this? Is plural monsters. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but you know what? After Title Update 2, we got Seregios and Lagiacras. that's... I can't not notice this now. So I'm very excited. I'm looking forward to see what happens in Title Update 3. And yeah, I'm actually really excited for all of this. The team gets a lot of hate recently for a variety of things. I don't think it's deserved as much. Obviously, on the PC side, I understand, and I'm a lot more critical of that. But I do think that's something we will have to keep an eye on. But as far as like the game itself on console and on higher end PCs and stuff like that, it seems to be getting better, and I've been having a great time. Me and my friends have all been having a great time, and if you've watched this channel, you know that we've all been enjoying ourselves. Yeah. Hopefully we'll be covering this soon, and we'll be making an effort to try and put more content out with these new hunts as soon as possible, as well as catching up with some of our older videos. But yeah, thank you all for watching, and if you like what you saw here, consider leaving a like or subscribing or leaving a comment in the video, or all three. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts, and I will catch you guys later. Happy hunting.